vanishing figure. I first saw it on a rainy afternoon. Walking home, I caught a glimpse in the reflection of a shop window. A figure standing at the corner, still watching. I blinked. It was gone. The reflection only showed me, drenched and confused, the city bustling around an empty street corner. The next day, I saw it again. Same posture, same distance, waiting silently as if practicing patience. I asked a passerby if they had seen anyone. They shook their head, preoccupied, leaving me with doubt and a growing sense of unease. The figure appeared repeatedly, always on the edges of my vision. I turned quickly. It vanished. I slowed. It reappeared. Always patient, always just out of reach. I started documenting sightings, locations, times, details. The figure seemed aware, precise, calculating its appearances to unsettle me. It wore a long coat, dark and featureless. Its face was obscured, leaving only the impression of a human form. Red gloves sometimes flashed in the light. I began noticing patterns in the city. Corners empty when the figure appeared, shadows deepening unnaturally, reflections slightly off. Every sighting left a residue in my mind. The figure's calm posture, the way it seemed to measure my reactions, the subtle threat in its patience. I tried changing my route home. It adapted. Each new street corner, park path, or alley revealed the same still form, waiting, patient, invisible to everyone else. I started noticing movement in my apartment. Curtains shifted, shadows elongated. I felt watched even when I was alone. I installed cameras in hallways and entryways. The footage always revealed nothing except subtle anomalies. A shadow, a flicker, a dark outline that disappeared in milliseconds. The figure escalated its appearances. During the day, during rain, during twilight. Always present, always still, yet impossible to capture fully. I began avoiding reflective surfaces. Mirrors, windows, polished cars, anything that might betray the presence of the figure. I started dreaming of it. The figure appeared in dark alleys, in crowded streets, always observing, never approaching, yet leaving a profound sense of threat. I tried speaking aloud when I saw it. Who are you? Silence. Only patience, stillness, a calm menace in the absence of motion. The red gloves became the most vivid part, flashing briefly in dim light, impossible to track, a mark of deliberate attention. I began noticing anomalies in my daily life. Footsteps that echoed behind me. Objects slightly shifted. Doors closing when I wasn't near. The figure appeared indoors once, or so I thought. In the reflection of a darkened hallway, a silhouette paused, vanished before I could focus. I stopped leaving my apartment at night. Even so, the feeling persisted. Someone or something, observing, patient, perfectly still, aware. I began leaving markers, chalk on the ground, notes, small objects. Some remained untouched. Others shifted subtly, impossible to explain. The city felt altered. Rooftops, shadows, alleyways, every corner seemed to belong to the vanishing figure, a territory I couldn't access fully. I started photographing every sighting. The images were blank or blurred, yet the unease remained, the memory sharper than any capture could convey. The figure seemed to anticipate my habits, the streets I walked, the times I left home, even my gaze toward reflections. I attempted to confront it directly, standing still, waiting for the figure to approach. Nothing moved. Only the tension, thick and patient. I began noticing the psychological impact. Paranoia, hyper-awareness, a constant scan for movement that wasn't there, or maybe was. Friends laughed when I described it. I stopped speaking of it. Only I could perceive it. Only I could feel its patient attention. The red gloves appeared in my peripheral vision, in reflections, shadows, fleeting, impossible to track, yet undeniably present. Even indoors, I felt the figure lingering, just beyond perception. A patient, silent watcher, precise and deliberate. I began adjusting my routines. Nothing mattered. The figure adapted. Always still, always watching, always patient. The city became a stage. The figure, the silent observer, orchestrated my movements to a quiet psychological presence. Even now, I see it occasionally in windows, reflections, fleeting glimpses. It is always patient, waiting, vanishing before I can reach it. I have learned to move carefully, live cautiously, always aware that the vanishing figure is patient, precise, and always observing. The silent stalker. It began with footsteps at night, soft, deliberate, echoing through the hallways outside my apartment. I knew no one was home. At first, I thought it was neighbors' misaligned schedules, the building settling. But the rhythm was too precise, too patient, almost taunting. The first glimpse of them came through the peephole. A dark figure standing in the shadowed stairwell, motionless, yet aware of my gaze. I froze. When I blinked, they were gone. No footsteps, no sound, only the faint sense of attention lingering in the air. I began noticing patterns. The figure appeared after dark, always at the same distance, never moving closer, yet always present. Red gloves. Occasionally, a flash of color on the hands, as if marking territory, claiming attention without contact. I tried speaking aloud. Go away, silence. Only the slow, patient presence persisted, measuring, observing, unbroken by words. I attempted to confront it in the hallway. I stepped out cautiously. The shadow was gone. Only the echo of my own breathing remained. Sleep became difficult. Every creak in the apartment sounded like approach. Every wind gust, every shifting shadow seemed alive. I installed cameras, motion sensors. Nothing captured the figure. Yet every night, the footsteps returned. The observer remained unseen, always patient. I began documenting occurrences, time, pattern, locations. The figure adapted to each record, each observation, as if reading my attempts to track them. One night, I heard a whisper, indistinct, unintelligible, curling through the hallway. I froze, heart hammering. The figure remained silent, patient, unseen. I started leaving notes. Why? What do you want? The notes disappeared or shifted slightly by morning. No fingerprints. No sign of intrusion. The air itself seemed different when they were near. Thick, heavy, charged with the quiet intensity of observation. I began walking with caution. Every hallway, stairwell, alley, every corner felt like their stage. The city became a theater for unseen choreography. I imagined them standing just out of vision. Still, red gloves flashing briefly, always aware, always testing the boundaries. I stopped speaking of it. Friends laughed, dismissed concerns. Only I could perceive the rhythm, the patience, the silent menace. Footsteps escalated, sometimes closer, sometimes farther. Always controlled, always aware, always precise. I began leaving markers, coins, papers, small objects in the hallway. Some moved, some stayed. Always deliberate, always controlled, always unnerving. Reflections became unreliable. Shadows seemed to shift independently. I glimpsed movement in corners that shouldn't exist. I tried leaving the apartment entirely, seeking escape. The footsteps continued, echoing in my mind, carried on the wind, on the walls, everywhere. I attempted confrontation again, standing in the hallway, waiting, silence, only the sense of observation, omnipresent, unbroken, patient. The city itself seemed complicit. Alleyways, stairwells, parking garages, all stages for the silent performance. The red gloves appeared fleetingly in reflections, windows, the slightest glint in the dark. Proof that they watched, aware, patient. Sleep vanished. I wandered my apartment at night, ears straining, eyes scanning every shadow, every corner, every door. I tried ignoring it. Impossible. Awareness became instinct. Fear, constant. Observation, unavoidable. I began documenting everything. Steps, shadows, reflections. Photographs revealed nothing. My mind preserved the terror, the patience, the presence. The figure never moved closer, yet never left. Patient, silent, precise, omnipresent in the psychological space of my life. I imagined them smiling, quietly, subtly, knowing I noticed, knowing I feared, knowing I could do nothing. Even now, I feel the presence in empty hallways, in stairwells, in shadows at the edge of my vision. Always patient, always watching. I have learned to move cautiously, breathe slowly, and respect the silent choreography that plays out nightly. The footsteps will return. The shadow remains. The red gloves flash. And I remain aware, tethered to the silent stalker forever. The door behind the velvet curtain. I first noticed the curtain in the hallway of the old theater. Thick crimson velvet, hanging just off center, swaying despite no draft. Behind it, a door, small, unmarked, almost imperceptible, yet undeniably there. Its presence felt deliberate, sinister, as if it had been waiting for me. The first time I approached, I heard nothing. Only the soft brushing of velvet against the floor, the faint scent of something floral and metallic. I tried opening the door. Locked. No keyhole, no handle, nothing. Just a cold, silent barrier. The curtain moved again, subtly, teasing, revealing a sliver of shadow behind the folds. I stepped back, heart hammering. I asked the theater staff about it. Never noticed it, they said, eyes avoiding the curtain. I didn't believe them. Each visit, the door seemed to shift slightly, as if repositioning itself just for my perception. The velvet swayed, teasing, inviting, threatening. I began timing my visits. Always evening, after the last performance. Always empty halls. Always that subtle, deliberate sway. I tried documenting it with a phone. Photos revealed only the curtain, perfectly still, no shadow, no door, no hint of presence. The air around it seemed different, heavy, charged, pressing against my skin in ways I couldn't explain. I imagined a figure behind the door, waiting, patient, knowing I was watching, knowing I wanted to enter. Each approach felt like a challenge. The closer I got, the more the curtain shifted, teasing, denying, warning. I asked myself if I was imagining it, if the empty theater in my imagination had merged into a hallucination. Yet the sensation persisted. Velvet brushing against the floor, air thick with unseen presence, a subtle shifting behind the folds. I tried leaning closer. Shadows flickered beyond the fabric, just beyond clarity, teasing my mind, stretching my perception. I left small objects near the door, a coin, a folded note. Each disappeared, shifted, or reappeared, subtly altered the next visit. I began to sense patterns in the movement, deliberate sways, pauses, timing that responded to my presence. I asked a friend to witness it. They saw only a curtain, nothing more. But when I returned alone, the shadow teased, waiting. The door became a psychological maze. Each visit, each approach, each pause heightened tension, amplified fear, deepened the unseen menace. I began sleeping lightly, dreaming of the velvet swaying, the cold door looming behind it, patient and silent. I noticed subtle sounds in the empty theater, steps that didn't belong to me, distant whispers, soft metallic scraping. I tried to confront it directly, pressing my hand against the curtain. The air shifted, the shadow recoiled, then resumed, teasing, patient. The sensation spread. Shadows in other rooms seemed to echo its presence, the heavy air lingering long after I left the theater. I stopped visiting for days. When I returned, the curtain had shifted slightly, closer to the center, as if aware of my absence. The door behind it remained closed, silent, unyielding, and yet profoundly alive in perception, an entity of patience and quiet menace. I began leaving notes under the curtain. Why? Who are you? Responses came in subtle, impossible ways. Small creases, faint scent, the slightest movement of the fabric. The velvet swayed differently, depending on my angle, my presence, my heartbeat. The door remained a mystery, silent, precise, watching. I imagined the figure behind it smiling faintly, orchestrating every movement, every pause, every subtle adjustment. Even during the day, I felt its presence. Empty halls, still air, shadows lingering where the door and curtain resided. I realized the door was a test, a patient observation. Each visit, each approach, each note, meticulously recorded, silently judged. I began accepting the presence. The door waits. The velvet sways. I remain tethered to the psychological rhythm, the silent performance of observation. Even now, I glance at the hallway when I pass. Velvet sways gently. The door waits. And I am aware, patient, and cautious. The crimson glove on the stairwell. It was past midnight when I first saw it. A single crimson glove lying on the third-floor stairwell, bright against the dull concrete, as if placed deliberately for me to notice. I paused, unsure if it was left behind by a tenant or a janitor. But the air around it felt heavy, tense, like the stairwell itself was holding its breath. The glove wasn't moving. No breeze, no draft. Just there, on the edge of the stair tread, waiting. I leaned closer. The fabric shimmered under the flickering fluorescent light, red against shadow, soft yet unyielding, almost alive. When I touched it, the air seemed to thicken. A faint metallic scent drifted up, subtle, unnerving. I looked up the stairs. Nothing. Empty hallway. No doors opening, no footsteps echoing. Only the glove and the stairwell, silent and patient. I pocketed it reluctantly, thinking it a strange keepsake, a forgotten item. But the feeling followed me to my apartment. That night, I dreamt of stairs' endless concrete steps spiraling upward, red gloves scattered across each landing. Each step I took echoed louder than the last. I woke sweating. The glove sat on my nightstand, exactly as I had placed it, yet the fabric seemed to pulse faintly, like a heartbeat in miniature. The next evening, I returned the glove to the stairwell. Thought it might end the obsession. It reappeared. Same spot, same posture. Unmoving, yet unmistakably aware. I began seeing movement in the periphery of my vision. Shadows that didn't align with furniture or light sources. Always near the stairwell. One night, I heard it. Soft scraping, like nails against concrete. I froze. Footsteps? I dared not look. The glove seemed to shift slightly. Not by wind, not by touch, almost as if acknowledging me. I tried ignoring it. Went about my routine. But I felt watched. Stairs became ominous. Corners of the hallway sinister. I asked a neighbor if they noticed anything unusual. It's just an old building, they said. But their eyes flicked toward the stairwell nervously. I returned home. The glove was gone from the stairwell. Relief. Until I stepped inside my apartment and saw a red flash in the hallway mirror. The glove had moved. Not magically, but impossibly. It sat upright on the carpet, perfectly shaped, as if waiting for me to see. I installed cameras along the stairwell. Nothing appeared on footage. The glove simply vanished whenever the lens focused on it. I left the building once, hoping distance would break the pattern. I returned days later. The glove waited, third-floor stairwell, as patient as ever. I began leaving markers, coins, paper slips, small objects beside the glove. Sometimes they remained. Sometimes they were shifted or removed. The stairwell itself began feeling alive. Echoes, drafts, faint pressure on my skin as I climbed the steps. I imagined a figure above me, just out of sight, watching. Hands in red gloves waiting. The gloves seemed to respond to my movements. Approaching, retreating, pausing, testing boundaries. Sleep became intermittent. I awoke to the sense of presence, a pulse in the air, a shadow in the corner of vision. I tried confronting it, speaking aloud. "What do you want?" Silence. Only the soft scrape of the stairwell and the pulsing red fabric. I began tracing stairs late at night. Every corner, every landing, every shadow became a puzzle, a code, a test. The glove was never alone. Sometimes I saw flicker a shape just beyond clarity, a dark silhouette observing, patient. I started documenting obsessively. Photos revealed only red, shadows revealed nothing. My mind preserved every detail, every unease, every pulse of presence. The glove moved when I wasn't looking, but always just enough to be noticed when I returned. I realized the figure behind it wasn't malevolent in the traditional sense. It was patient, deliberate, precise as psychological predator, testing awareness, teaching caution. Even now, I glance at stairwells differently. Corners feel alive. Shadows hold meaning. The red glove pulses in memory. I have stopped touching it. I have stopped looking too long. Awareness alone is enough. The stairwell waits. The glove waits. And I remain tethered, cautious, and cool. The glove taps on my window at midnight. I first heard it just after midnight. 3 soft taps on the glass, measured, deliberate, echoing through the dark apartment. I froze, heart racing. The street was empty, the wind absent, yet the sound persisted. The next night, the tapping returned. I approached cautiously. Nothing visible, only the faint outline of a hand pressing against the pane. Red gloves, always red gloves. The sight or the suggestion imprinted on my mind, vivid and impossible to ignore. I tried recording the noise. Microphone picked up nothing but the hum of the city. I began noticing patterns. The tapping corresponded with lights being off, curtains closed, moments of solitude. Sleep became impossible. Every creak, every whisper of wind sounded like the glove returning. I set up cameras, pointing at the windows. Footage revealed only darkness, reflections, and the occasional faint red blur. I imagined the figure outside, watching, patient, deliberate, waiting for my gaze to falter. The taps sometimes shifted rhythm, longer pauses, rapid bursts, teasing me, testing my awareness. I tried confronting it directly. "Stop." My voice echoed, met only by silence, followed by another sequence of taps. Objects inside the apartment moved slightly after the tapping. Papers, shoes, small personal items. Subtle, precise. The city felt complicit. Empty streets, distant lights flickering, shadows that didn't align with structures, all part of the unseen observer's stage. I began documenting every tapping session. Time, pattern, duration, variations. The glove seemed aware of my record keeping. I tried ignoring it. Impossible. The psychological weight of observation pressed on me constantly. Sometimes I glimpsed the silhouette behind the glass. Tall, still, hands folded in the signature red gloves. I considered leaving notes outside. "Who are you?" "Why me?" They disappeared or were subtly moved by morning. The tapping escalated. Longer sequences, multiple windows, subtle scratches against the frame. I began leaving small objects near the windows. Coins, folded paper, trinkets. Each shifted subtly by morning. Reflections in mirrors sometimes revealed a flicker, a shadow poised outside. Red glove flashing briefly. I tried capturing it in a photograph. The image revealed only night and reflections, nothing more. The tapping began influencing my routine. I checked windows obsessively, always anticipating, always on edge. I noticed small signs outside, footprints that disappeared in the concrete, subtle indentations in the soil, faint impressions of fingers. The presence extended psychologically. I felt watched even when away from the apartment, always tethered to the window. I began leaving one window open slightly. By morning, it was always closed. The gloves marked a faint smudge visible on the sill. I stopped trying to confront it directly. Awareness alone became the only control I had. Even during daylight, shadows along the windows suggested presence. Subtle, teasing, patient. I imagined the figure smiling, amused by my fear, orchestrating every tap, every pause, every slight movement. The glove never left. The tapping persists. My awareness is constant, my caution ingrained, my fear sharpened. I have learned to live carefully. Every window checked, every shadow noted, every tap remembered. The glove taps, the figure waits, and I remain tethered, patient, cautious, aware.